Brad, I told you on the show before that my mother-in-law, God bless her, 79 years old, loves the Hallmark Channel, right? Every time I walk in, the Hallmark Channel is on. And I walk in the other day, and apparently there's a section of programming on the Hallmark Channel that shows the Golden Girls like as a block. And frankly, I'm here for it. Like when they're watching the Golden Girls, I'll plunk right down on the couch and be like, I'm joining you for Golden Girls.
Hell yes.
Because the writing was, by the way, really good. If you ever look at famous writing teams, Golden Girls had an amazing roster of talent, all of whom went on to launch their own shows.
Yeah.
So, like a really good training ground.
Extremely well-written show.
Yeah, the jokes were really tight. Anyway, I walk in and I'm like, oh, Golden Girls. And my father-in-law goes, no, this is Golden Palace. And I go, what? Brad, so apparently there was a sequel to the Golden Girls where most but not all of the Golden Girls went on?
Yeah.
What do you know about the Golden Palace?
I forget which one did not want to continue. I think it might have been.
It was B. Arthur because I looked it up, yeah.
Yeah, because she had a contentious relationship with, I think, Rue McClanahan. Or no, it was Betty White.
It was Betty White of all people, yeah.
But B didn't go on. But the rest of them were like, hey, this is a cash cow. We're going to at least try to get another season or two out of it.
So it was I guess, this is such a thin, I guess one of the ladies inherited a hotel or something? Is that what it was?
Of course, as you do in TV, by the way, how many fantastic concepts have been around either inheriting or running a hotel?
I know.
You can start with Faulty Towers and then just go on from there.
The
and
Newhart
it's
show,
just amazing. But now, wait a minute, back up. B. Arthur didn't go on, but did Estelle Getty go on as B. Arthur's mother?
Yes, and this is what's so crazy.
God.
So I don't know, and I'm sort of fascinated in a sort of morbid way. Like, how did they write B. Arthur out of the show? Like, well, I guess B, or whatever her character was, is off,
Dorothy.
married now, probably, I'm guessing. I'm sure they didn't kill her off because, Brad, she did come back for a special double episode, apparently.
Oh, my God.
And did one, but like, how icy cold must it have been for B. Arthur and Betty White that B. Arthur's like, I'm out. I can't even do it anymore. I can't do another GD season with Betty White.
I can't stand this Betty White. She's driving me crazy. That's my B. Arthur.
Ladies and gentlemen, for your consideration in all Oscar categories, the vocal work of Brad Geiger as B. Arthur. Oh my God.
She had a voice so husky you could pull a sled.
And on that perfect note, I will say hello, everybody, and welcome to ComicLab. God damn it, the show about making comics.
And making a living from comics.
No more B. Arthur. That was not an invitation to do more B. Arthur.
I'm Brad Geiger, the author of the Webcomics Handbook and the creator of Evil Inc.
And I'm his pal Dave Kellett, the cartoonist of Drive and Sheldon, and the co-director of the comics documentary Stripped.
And this week's hour of comics advice is made possible by your support at patreon.com/comiclab. So Dave, let's talk comics.
Let's talk comics, my friend. And before we do anything, Brad, we have to talk about our fantastic new ComicLab sponsor, Huion.
Oh my gosh, we're so happy to have Huion sponsoring the next several shows here on ComicLab. I became a huge fan of their product when I bought the Canvas 22 Pro for use at home. I've been using it for a year now, and I am overwhelmed at just what a great drawing tool it is. What a professional piece of equipment. I can't say enough good things about them, and I'm super thrilled that we get to tell you all about it.
Absolutely. And right now, until the end of the year, not only do they have fantastic end of year deals, but there are specific ComicLab deals with the promo code ComicLab, all one word, COMICLAB. But there's 3 specific products, the Canvas 22 Plus, the Canvas 13, that's the 3rd generation, and the Huion Note, that we're going to be talking about over the next couple of weeks, because all of them have fantastic end-of-year savings. And here is the part that's bonkers to Dave Kellett, because year on year, when I go to get a digital drawing tool, I'm usually looking, Brad, at like a $2,000 expense for products that I've used in the past. And the prices on these are fantastic. They're like low hundreds. And I'm telling you, and some of them are like, how are they making this possible at this price? Yeah. And so it's one of those things where when Brad bought with his own gosh darn money, his Canvas 22 Plus and fell in love with it, it convinced Dave Kellett. So we are super happy to have them on board as sponsors.
Absolutely. If you're looking for a good excuse to give yourself a little holiday gift or be nice to yourself at the end of the year, or if you're like me and you're looking for a little tax write-off that you can sneak in before the end of the year, here's your chance. This is stuff that we feel really good about endorsing because we know from firsthand experience what a great piece of equipment this is. And check out those show notes. We've got links right there in the show notes. So if you want to click on those, that'll at least let Huion know that you're coming from ComicLab, and that'll help out your comics uncles as well. So check out those show notes, and you can see a link to each one of those pieces of equipment that we talked about. But I'm telling you, just between you and me, I've been a user for a long time now of the Canvas 22 Pro, and I can't say enough good things about it.
It's like the old commercial, like, I liked it so much, I bought the company. Brad liked it so much, he bought the Canvas 22 Plus. So the show notes are in there that will get you the special end of year deals. Don't forget to use the discount promo code of ComicLab. Or if you're on the bus or in the metro or in the car right now and you don't have a chance to go to the show notes, you can remember the URL, comiclabshop.com, and that'll take you over to Huion. But Brad, I think we're ready for it. Go ahead and say it again.
All right, Dave, let's talk comics.
Let's talk comics, my friend. It amazes me, and it's such a testament to the human spirit, or the human frailties, by the way, that things like the breakup of the Beatles or the breakup of the Golden Girls, like when you have something that's ostensibly working perfectly in art as a team up. Because you and I know we've done collaborations, we've done team ups, we've been a part of some team ups that have broken up. And it's fascinating when everything works except for the human heart, and that's what breaks it up. Like the Beatles broke up. The B. Arthur had to get out of Golden Girls, even though she was probably pulling in millions every year by that 8th season. It just speaks to the fact that humans are, boy, are we imperfect.
Yeah, it's Golden Girls particularly is a heartbreak. But I got to look back if we're really getting in on this, because I thought I had read a long time ago, and my memory is full of holes. But I heard that they weren't getting picked up by the network, and that they basically shopped this. They're like, we've still got it. We can take this on the road. Sold the follow-up concept to another network, and then that's how we got Golden Palace. Like they had gotten canceled, and then this was a way to try to keep things going.
Yeah.
But I don't know that for a fact.
No, that's very possible. That's happened with a lot of shows. That happened with Brooklyn Nine-Nine. That happened with my wife's show, One Day at a Time. They had to shop it around and go to another network. And so, that's very possible that's what happened, Brad. But anyway, Golden Palace, by the way, not great. Not great. I watched an episode. I was like, I don't know what's going on.
It was amazing. Chemistry is amazing that way. When you change just a little bit, you really needed that Dorothy... whatever, that acid that she brought, it was kind of like sugar, salt, acid, fat.
Yeah.
It was a perfect bouillabaisse of comedy, not the least of which they made such a great decision very early with Estelle Getty's character. They kind of explained it once and then let it ride. She had a stroke. That stroke took out the part of her brain that is a filter. So whatever comes into her head, she blurts out. Right. Just that aspect of that character makes her such a wild card that writing wise, you can get away with murder because it's a sweet little old lady. It's not her fault. She says the horrible things she says. She had a stroke. You can't take it out on her.
Which is just comedy gold in terms of like allowing for you to drop your guard as a viewer. It's great. Well, let's jump into our first question, Brad. This comes in over from patreon.com/ComicLab, where people are running, not walking, running to get more vitamin G in their life. That's Brad Geiger. A little more vitamin G in their life. Much like Estelle Getty. That's also vitamin G.
The youngest one of the group, I think, wasn't she?
That's also fascinating that she was the youngest one.
We could do a whole podcast just on the Golden Girls. Do you realize that?
I'm sure there is a podcast that just breaks down the Golden Girls.
Just a rewatch. I watched listened to a rewatch podcast of The Sopranos. It was fascinating. And we could take like every episode, do a podcast where we talk about the episode. If we ever get tired of talking about comics, you and I will do a Golden Girls rewatch podcast. The one thing that would be so fun to talk about anytime we did a rewatch for the Golden Girls is how
It was a heyday for 60-year-old male actors to get one last go around at a sitcom where they could also kind of play for one last time a sex symbol because ostensibly they were all Rue McClanahan's dates. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you'd have like Leslie Nielsen come on and he was like, "Hey, how you doing? I'm dating Rue McClanahan."
Yeah.
And so all these 60-year-old male actors were like, "Yeah, one more go around at the wheel for old Johnny Thompson," or whatever his name was, you know? All right, here's the question coming in from patreon.com/ComicLab. Brad Geiger, I'd be interested to hear your thoughts for the beginning comic artist on the idea of doing a first project in black and white for the sake of getting the project done more quickly or at all, versus biting the bullet and going all in on color right from the start. Is it just a matter, Brad, of pick the one you like best? Brad Geiger, color specialist, unlike his friend Nick Kellett, who's colorblind. What do you recommend? This is an interesting question because comics for 100 years did just fine with black and white, right? Did just fine. But given the option, audiences again and again and again prefer color comics.
Yeah.
So, but it also ostensibly doubles, or at least by halves, increases the workload of the comic. What do you recommend, Brad, for a first-time cartoonist?
This is such an interesting question because speaking of the old days, we got this question on Webcomics Weekly one time. And we talked about exactly the way you set this topic up in that, listen,
How do you remember this? How do you remember that we talked about this? I can't remember yesterday. And you're like, I remember it well. The rain was falling gently on the car, and I had just changed the air in my tires, and I had been wearing my blue socks that day, which was a change for Brad Geiger. Are you like one of those people that, like, I can give you a date and you can tell me what the weather was?
No, just the opposite. I've got a Swiss cheese memory, but I do remember this, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
We talked about this, and same thing. We said, listen, for years, newspaper comics were black and white, didn't hurt them a bit. But since your computer monitor is in color, there is an expectation among a large number of your audience members, your potential audience members, of a color comic, because there's no newspaper comics weren't in color because it was also more expensive to print them in color. Newspapers didn't want to do that. So there's not a greater expense for the most part to produce your comic in color. But I remember saying my comic, and that by that time I had launched Evil Inc., and I said my comic is black and white, and the only reason that it's not color is I'm no good at that, and it would look terrible if I colored it. And B, I at this point, I can't afford a colorist. And that's when the great Ed Ryozowski got in touch with me and said, I'd love to color Evil Inc., and let's work something out. And we worked out a payment system that enabled him to get paid and for me to get color. And that's how Evil Inc. started appearing in color. And I was desperate because for my comic, I really do think it took a huge step up. By the way, I've told this story on the show before too. That was also the time I got the most complaints I ever got.
I remember that, distinctly.
Because readers hate change of any kind, if it's undeniably positive change. And they were upset. They wanted their black and white comic back. And like a dope, I actually went through a whole process. And I'm telling you this so you can avoid making this mistake. Never listen to your reader. Always listen to your readers, right? But I had it set up so that every time I uploaded a new Evil Inc., which was 6 days a week at that point, I uploaded a black and white version and a color version. And I had a little...
And you had a little button?
Yep.
Remember that little toggle button? Hey, you want to read it in black and white? Why did that button exist?
And then it set up a cookie so that the next time they came up to the site, it was automatically in black and white or color.
That's actually really clever. Okay, keep going. Yeah.
But it was a huge extra amount of work. And by the way, later on, when I checked and took the button off, everybody was just looking at the comic in color at that point. No one was looking at it in black and white. Nobody was upset that the button moved. And I just, at that point, uploaded it in color and went on. The conventional wisdom is that it's better to have your comic in color. However, I don't think that's across the board. I think there's certain comics, just to start out, there's certain comics that do just fine in black and white, and it would probably be a little bit worse in color. First one that comes to mind, Sarah Scribbles.
Yeah, yes. Okay, but I have to pause you because conversationally, gang, Brad is doing something today that he doesn't normally do. He's taking his hand and he's cupping his mouth every third point. So I'll tell you what, gang, I could do it in black and white, but people love it in color. And I'll tell you something else. Somebody who might not look as good if they were in color. It's Sarah Scribbles. I'm Brad Geiger. I keep cupping my hand to my mouth. Why am I doing this? This is a weird affectation that I'm doing. Hey, gang, I'll tell you what. I love sunny days, but I also love a rainy. I love a rainy. I'll tell you what, gang, I'll wear socks, but I love flip-flops too. I do. I love them. I'm Brad Geiger, cupping my hand to my mouth. Why am I doing this? What the hell?
Some things are just a little aside. They're a little aside like this.
The theatricality is what's selling it. God, I wish people could see. Because, gang, he's like leaning into the mic all conspiratorially, like he's going to tell you a little secret about color, and it's only between you, me, and Brad Geiger. Oh, God.
Oh my God.
Sorry, keep going.
I don't think I can. But no,
I'll tell you why. The reason why I paused you to say that is because I love Brad Geiger. Love him like a brother. I do.
But I think there are some comics that are perfectly fine in black and white. If you're doing a gritty kind of a noir comic, obviously that's going to do great in black and white. If you're going to do a comic that's kind of like alternative kind of comics with an X, right? Like R. Crumb and so forth, that's no problem being in black and white. I think there are some notable exceptions where color doesn't really make a whole lot of difference. Now, if you're telling me that this is the difference between you doing it or you doing it faster, I am uninterested in that argument.
Yes.
Don't you agree? It's like, hey, listen, if it takes a little bit of extra time to do it right, then take the extra time and do it right.
Well, there's a lot that this question reveals about the person asking it, all of which is fine, by the way. Yeah. That they're clearly cognizant of the fact that they're worried about, will they finish a comic? Will they finish the comics? Will they finish the whole project? And I think their spidey sense is telling them that they're more likely to get it done if it's in black and white. Mm-hmm. I will say this, and by the way, I agree with all of Brad's points, and I also agree with all of Brad's points. So, no, I agree with all of Brad's points. I will say this, that the mastering of cartooning, and I think Brad will agree with this, the mastering of cartooning is the slow mastering of, frankly, 8 different skill sets, right? Yeah. It's the mastering of lettering, the mastering of writing, the mastering of editing, the mastering of just your line work, the mastering of coloring, the mastering of marrying your specific line art with the right kind of coloring, because boy, I've seen the wrong kind of coloring being married to the line art, right? Yeah. And so the mastering of paneling, the mastering of pacing across a page, across a book. You get where I'm going with this. And so there is kind of, Brad, an argument to be made. This is arguing the other way, for leaning in just on black and white for a project that is discrete. By that, I mean, it has a beginning, middle, end. It's not the longest thing. It's not your whole career. Such that you get really, really good at your line art and seeing what line art can do by itself, the way Jeff Smith did with Bone originally. Like, what could I just communicate just with line art about Bone's world, about what the dragon is like, what the characters are like, just using line art, because you'll get really good at it, and such that when you do your eventual color comics, then that will be the learning curve. That'll be the new sort of leveling up in your skill set. Is like, okay, I've got the line art down. Now it's time to start rolling and coloring. And boy, it'll be 6 months of stumbling if you're anything like Dave Kellett, or actually 6 years of stumbling if you're anything like Dave Kellett. But what do you make? What do you make of that argument, Brad? That like maybe there's an argument to be made for like mastering a thing for this project.
No, I'm 100% with you on that, especially since, as we both pointed out several times, neither one of us have ever mastered coloring, nor will we after master coloring. That's something that
Beth,
we
I'm
found.
floundering. Yeah.
We found that it was much, much wiser for both of us to outsource the mastery of that to people who are true masters and let them do their thing.
Yes.
So let me tell you this. This is when we got this question in Webcomics Weekly, which would have been 2007, 2008.
My God, the memory. Look at this elephant walking in. Like, I know where the graveyard is.
But we said, I remember this part too, because we said very much, it kind of has to be in color. In 2025, I am much less of a hardliner on that, not only for certain types of comics like we talked about, but take a look at where we are culturally on a global basis. A manga is almost expected to be in black and white, or with maybe one color page at the beginning, one color page at the end. Manga is almost universally black and white when you pick up, print editions of that. Hasn't held that back a bit. And the other thing about it is that, like Dave pointed out earlier, you could do a whole thing like Bone or any other comic, and you could choose to add the color later if you so desire. As a matter of fact, Dave made another really good point. Is if you decide to take this route, you can really master those other parts of cartooning because you're going to have to. If color sometimes, just between you and me, it can be a bit of a crutch, right? You can rely on the color to do certain visual communication for you. And if you take that out, just like all times that reducing your options makes you more creative, if you are going to decide to do a comic in black and white, it's going to force you to do things like composition and line quality and all those other things
really focus.
much better so that they translate well in black and white.
Agreed. I guess one of the reasons why I'm saying it this way is, Brad, one of the things we tell first years cartoonists is like, don't start a Patreon. Don't go into business. Don't do merch yet. Just focus on making a good comic. And in a way, this is sort of drilling down to that point even more. Is like, first, just get really good at line art. So I guess what I'm saying is I can see this argument that like, there is an argument to be made for just focusing on getting really good at line art with this black and white project. The world is not opposed to black and white line art. It just is the case that the human eye can be caught a little bit quicker with color, but not always, as Brad said. Sarah Scribbles is a great example. Chris Halbeck's work is a great example. I can name you a bunch of Reddit type cartoons that even though they are in color, they use like two colors. It's like a yellow character and a blue character. And so you get where I'm going with this, like it's very minimal use of color. So you don't have to have color. And it honestly, it comes down to aesthetic. The things that your comic will need to communicate, do they require color? If not, then you're probably okay starting with black and white. Yeah. I do think for the vast bulk of comics, a little bit of color or gradation, maybe that's a better way to say it, helps you fill out the world. But not all comics and not all types of jokes and not all types of storylines. Yeah. Can you think, Brad, manga is a really good example. I was going to try to think of Western story-based comics that are not color. The only one I can think of is maybe Abby Howard's horror comics, which are beautifully done, by the way. Can you think of any other Western comics that are story-based that are not color?
Story-based comics that are black and white. The bad thing about it is nothing's coming screaming to mind. What's going to happen is we're gonna end the show. I'm going to be in the shower tomorrow morning and thinking of three of them, all of whom are people I love and respect that I should have mentioned and didn't. But no, nobody's coming screaming to mind right now.
Well, let me give everybody a fast forward to Brad Geiger in the shower when it suddenly hits him the idea like, hey everybody, I'm Brad Geiger in the shower, soaping up my body. Look at that, getting it all clean. Oh, and I just remembered a comic. I'm going to lean into the shower head. and tell the shower head a little secret.
If you lean too close to the shower head, all you're going to sound is this.
But anyway, as far as a starting point, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world.
Yeah.
Do I recommend it necessarily? No. Do I not recommend it? No. I'm agnostic on it. And I can see how one could start that way and it being a perfectly happy way to begin.
Yeah. Hey, well, and also let's dial back just for a second, because you mentioned monochromatic comics, right? They just use different shades of one color. And which is a really great choice. If you're somebody like me who just knows that you're not good at color, you can kind of make some easy decisions there. Let me just talk about for a second one of my favorite cartoonists in the whole world, one of my favorite comics.
Charles Adams. Go ahead, say it. Charles Adams.
I was not going to say Charles Adams. Did he do monochromatic stuff?
Adam's family was monochromatic. It was all gray. He
did washes, ink washes.
Yeah,
I guess that's
gray.
kind of that. But no, this is like if you used a certain, like blue, for example, and used all colors of blue.
All right. I see where you're going. All right.
Let's talk about one of my favorite cartoonists who does this. And it's a great example for all of us. Erica Moen does some absolutely...
Gang, you've been listening to ComicLab, the show about making comics.
Erica does do monochromatic, but
Erica
so
does
my good friend Dave Kellett, who does the sci-fi comedy Drive at drivecomic.com. And as long as we're talking about Drive, which is monochromatic, we actually had a question come in not so long ago that talks about this. It's going to fit fantastic into this conversation. So I'm going to pitch it to you now. It says, Dave, I know you're colorblind and I don't want you to change Drive, but I know you've talked about the dream of someday adapting Drive to another visual medium. And with that, possibly a need to color it. So like, I guess in between the lines there, maybe if there was a Drive animated series, right?
Or a video game or a movie or something like that.
Yeah, or a movie, sure. Have you thought about this or spent any time with your colorist, Beth, thinking about what a full color Drive would look like? Thanks for all the great episodes, Dave. Your monochromatic Drive. Have you thought about it in full color?
I have. And let me tell you the genesis of this. So I was... when I started Drive 15 years ago, I don't think I had an assistant at the time, Brad. Do you remember? I don't think I did.
I don't think you did.
I think I did not. Anyway, I knew that I had to color Drive. I knew that I didn't want it black and white. And I looked around for a color that I loved the range of the color, Brad. Like the darkest darks could give me space and the lightest lights could give me skin tones. And so there was a blue that I really liked, and it's funny because I started with a different blue, and I look back on it now, I was like, "Ooh, what a horrid choice!" But now the blue that I've landed on, I'm really, really happy with it, and it's sort of a bluish grayish, a little bit of hint of purplish. And anyway, long story short, it was a range of color that my eyes could see, and so it was doable for my broken eyeballs. And so that was the reason, the genesis of why I did a monochromatic comic. And so when Beth came on board and started coloring first Sheldon from Seattle, and then she moved down to LA to take the full-time job and did Sheldon and Drive, she has since been doing Drive, all the coloring of it. All right. And that includes things like planets and star fields and, all this sort of stuff in the background. And it's worked out great. I love it. I love the story, the final story. By the way, we've since gone back and Beth has redone the full act of Drive 1, and I think it went into Drive 2, recolored the entire thing that Dave Kellett had previously done to bring it up to standard. And by that, I mean, we had established it. We actually went through and established a look of like, when a ship goes to FTL, what does that star streak look like? When they're coming towards you, what does the little streak look like versus when they're going away from you? What does the streak look like?
Wow.
Hey, if someone's shooting an M wave, which is a type of laser in the comic, what does that look like? Let's standardize that across the full 1,000 pages or whatever. Yeah. So anyway, when we go to do the box set a couple years from now, And boy, we can talk about that because that is one of the biggest anxieties of my heart right now is that dumb box set. I'm so nervous about it. But when we go to do the box set, we will have the recolored Drive Act 1 and 2, and then all of the Act 3, 4, 5, and 6, and then all the Tales of the Drive in different volumes in a box set sleeve. And it'll be really big and heavy. And
I was going to say, remember when we had Kathy Geiswhite on the show and she said that her 50-year Kathy anniversary box set was 200 pounds? And she was kind of joking around. Your box set sounds like it's going to clock in at just about 200 pounds. It's going to be heavy.
No joke. For anyone that owns the Far Side box set, I don't know if you own it, Brad. I think it's going to be equivalent in weight to about either the Far Side box set, which is gigantic, or the Calvin and Hobbes box set, which weighs a little bit less. And so it's going to require a cardboard sleeve around it that is significant, like that kind of super stiff, I don't know what it's called. And then they wrap it. Anyway, regardless, we'll talk about that in future shows because I have so much anxiety about that. So we're going to do the full blue Drive Act 1 through 6, and then the Tales of the Drive in a box sleeve. That's that great bing, bang, boom, done. Then I do think we're going to go back like Bone did and do a color version a year or so later. Why? I'm not sure. Like, who's the audience for that? I don't know. Will it sell? Who can say? I kind of want to do it as like what Tolkien did with Lord of the Rings, where Acts 1 and 2, it would only be in softcover, and Acts 1 and 2 would be a combined volume. Acts 3 and 4 would be a combined volume, and 5 and 6 would be a combined volume. So I think that could work. And just do what, like Steve Hamaker, our friend, by the way, who I saw Steve for the first time in a decade about a month ago, and looking great. Steve has not aged at all. I look like the photo that's upstairs while
the portrait of Dorian Gray.
While Dorian Gray walks around. Yeah, I'm looking like Dorian's portrait, and Steve still looks young and vibrant and wonderful. But Steve, who colored Bone and did a wonderful job with it, he was working on it for, I don't know, Brad, a year and a half, 2 years coloring Bone. It was a long time. And I think it would take up a huge chunk of time for Beth to color Drive. So yes, to answer this question asker's question, I have thought about it. I don't know financially if it makes sense. I don't know if aesthetically or editorially it makes sense. I don't know that the comic needs it.
I don't either. If I'm being honest, I don't know that it needs it. Okay,
tell me your thoughts, because I don't know that we've ever talked about this. Have we ever talked about this?
No, but I think it's gorgeous just the way it is. I don't have
See, this is the kind of love you need from a friend. David, you're gorgeous just the way you go out in that outfit. You look great.
Drive is gorgeous just the way it is. And I'm sure you look good in your outfits too. But I don't, I've never been held back in the reading experience by it. I don't necessarily know that your readers who have mental images of these characters already are going to accept when they find out that Nosh, for example, is green and not the color that they've been presented with, it's like, if he was going to be in color, I thought Nosh would be purple. Then you've got all of that. And like this question asker is like, well, you're thinking about different media and so forth. And I was saying, like an animated series or a movie. Couldn't it be a monochromatic animated series? I don't know that you'd need to even change in color for that, would you?
Listen, I don't know much about animation, but I know TV executives from my wife, and they would universally be like, what is this nonsense with this monochromatic? No, you're going full color.
Yeah, that's that I could see, yeah.
I mean, part of... And Brad and I have both talked about it on the show, is that Sheldon, I never wanted to option to do anything. Drive, for whatever reason, I'm more willing. I don't know why that is. I'm more willing to see it become an RPG video game or an anime or a movie. I don't know what it is about that project that I'm like, I'm much more willing to do it. But in being willing to do that, I do know that as soon as you, and this is something I want to just say to all the cartoonists out there who think that they're going to sell their project, as soon as you sell that project, it's not your project anymore.
Right. Yeah.
The book will be your project. That's yours. That you can hold on to forever. You don't get a say in what the voices are. You don't get a say in what the color palette is. You don't get a say in what the pacing is or the editorial is. Yeah. And there's a billion stories out there of artists who have optioned or sold their title. and it got ruined, or they were not happy with it, or it got kludged 9 ways to Sunday. Anyway, so I am mentally prepared that when I finish the Drive book that we've just discussed, the big box set, that's it. That's the story. That's my Dave Kellett's version of Drive. Yeah. And were I ever to pass it over to a studio or a gaming developing company or an anime house or something, it becomes theirs. That's their project at that point.
That's the deal you signed.
That's the deal you signed. And so it's more just the sort of curiosity and excitement of seeing it go to another medium rather than Dave Kellett will be involved, because very often they just like, thanks so much. And they pat you on the shoulder and they're like, don't let the door hit you on the way out. And you're like, I'm going to be in the writer's room, or I'm going to be directing, and I'm going to be animating it. No, you're not. No, you're not.
You're going to be lucky to get your parking validated on your way out.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm very cognizant of what that world would entail. But I also buy it, Brad, and the older I get, and I was talking with an older cartoonist recently about this, and the older I get, I'm actually also fine with it never being option or sold. Yes. I'm actually fine with it just being a comic that I'm super proud of and content with. Like, I think, God damn it, provided I land the plane of the final 100 pages, I will be really proud of this story, and I'm really proud that I did it. And it was super fun to write and super fun to draw. And it'll probably be one of the magnum opuses of my life,
Without a doubt. And you got a lot of people who have enjoyed that story who back you up on that. It's definitely something that you can point to as being a great success in terms of the way the audience has received it, the way the books have turned out, the way the story itself has turned out. It's been a very successful story.
Well, I don't know, just because we've never really talked about this. What do you think I do with it when the story ends? I make the box set. Hooray! Oh, we had a nice Kickstarter. Oh, 500 of you spent way too much money for this big ass box set. Hooray! What do I do then? Does it just end? Because I have a sequel in mind.
I would like to see. Well, in terms of like, does it end? There's a lot of answers to that question. Number one,
yeah, that's fair.
You could easily pitch that to a studio as an animated series, or because there's such a crossover, not only in character design, but in the overall sense of humor and sensibilities, you could pitch that to Jim Henson Studios as a Muppet production. And I think it would be fantastic version in that. And then you solve all those color problems along the way with the puppets. But in terms of a comic, that's really the beautiful thing about this is what do you do next? The answer is whatever your heart desires. And with the idea that this next thing does not have to be as successful as Drive.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, you'd like it to be. But what if the next thing you do is something you do for a year, and then you get that out of your system, and then you go on to something else, and maybe you do a sequel to Drive or something in the Drive universe. So maybe you do something completely different. Like, for example, not for nothing, you've been doing a series of storyline-driven comic strips that take place in this dog kennel, right?
Right.
And you've been having that experience. And now you could add that experience and say, okay, this is the next thing that I'm going to do for another 10 years. Or you could say, all right, got it out of my system. Now I'm going to go over and do something else. And it becomes a part of a greater body of work. The neat thing about it is, as we've seen time and time again, there are some people, this just from the crossover of Sheldon and Drive fans, there's some people who are just going to be excited to see what Dave Kellett does next. And they're there because it's a Dave Kellett production, and they're going to be there for it. And the ones that don't, you'll pick them up along the way. And if that doesn't happen, that's fine, because there's only an infinite number of readers out there on the internet. If you lose a few Drive people, you've got an infinite pond to fish out of and replace them. The answer to what do you do next is whatever your heart desires.
Well, let me ask you, because this is not what the question asker was answering, but I think we've answered their question now. But Brad
Yeah,
Geiger,
enough about them. Let's talk about us.
Let's talk about Brad Geiger. But the end game for Evil Inc., because in the past you have said you have a potential end line or end story for Evil Inc. And then you have a projects in line for what you would do after Evil Inc. Is that still the case for you?
Oh, yeah.
Just checking in?
I don't have an ending that I like you've got a timeline in mind.
Yeah.
Right?
It's going to take me about 4 more years to finish Drive, maybe 5.
I cannot get my head around that. What's going to happen is I'm going to decide that I'm bringing Evil Inc. to an end, and I'm going to write one big storyline that wraps that up and has certain elements in it and so on and so forth. Other than that, I'm very happy to continue doing corners of the Evil Inc. universe, relationships and characters. And like I've already introduced that there's branches of Evil Inc. that exist in other cities like Akron, Ohio.
Right.
And it is perfectly reasonable at some point if I just take it and take all of the side characters or all the main characters, put them to the side, maybe bring one over to Akron, and then write about Akron for a year.
It's going to be Lightning Lady. Like you're going to bring Lightning Lady to Akron.
Ladies, she's the odds-on favorite. She's the one that came over from Greystone Inn that started Evil Inc. So she would be the odds-on favorite. But like if I ever decided to do like you did and created a second thing altogether, I've told you, I might have mentioned it on the show. I don't want to go into it here for reasons that you and I both, the more you talk about it, the less you actually do it. But I've got a second whole comic that I would if I ever decided to end Evil Inc., I would go right into that and start that. The one thing is, I know it would be so like Evil Inc. Like I think I have the ability to write one type of thing, and I'm pretty good at it. But to do science fiction the way you do it, I don't have the brain for it. I literally, you're talking M waves, and you can tell me how the starships fly and how they there's a whole system in place, a whole level of world building and the science behind that world building that my brain is never going to be able to produce. But I can draw 2 people kissing. In other words, you've got that. I can do relationships really well. I can really talk about a relationship, not necessarily even physical intimacy, but relationships I can talk about forever. Starship drives, I couldn't write sentence number 1. So to do what you do, I could never do. I'll never be a science fiction guy.
I could never do what you do. I'm in awe of it. I mean, you have, my mother-in-law is living proof. There are entire channels devoted to what you do. And so I can't do it. But yeah, it's, for example, I've said it before on the show, so I don't mind mentioning it again. The kaiju project that I constantly am thinking about, but have no idea how to execute. I honestly feel like I need a different artist to draw it. I don't know that Dave Kellett will ever be good enough in the way that I would need Tony Cliff style skills or Carl Kerschel type skills. I don't know that Dave Kellett can draw that comic or what it would look like if Dave Kellett, but maybe that's what people would want is a Dave Kellett version of that comic. And I don't know. I don't know what it, I also, like you, I know that I write goofy family groupings that are sweet to each other and throw in a lot of jokes amidst an action scenario. And I don't know if the kaiju story has that jokey grouping scenario. And maybe I need to kludge it so that I can make it that. But, anyway, long story short, is like I like you. I know what my wheelhouse is, and I don't know how far I can write outside of that wheelhouse. You
don't know how far you can go outside of that. No, I know it's a very definite problem that we grapple with.
Hey, gang, if you're listening while you work, take a minute to stand and stretch.
And while you're doing that, we'll tell you why you should join us on Patreon.
Yeah, because when you do, you'll get hours and hours of podcasts that we've recorded just for backers.
And exclusive Patreon posts that go even deeper on ComicLab topics.
And you'll get access to our exclusive Discord server, a thriving community of professional cartoonists.
So you can support the show you love and get tons of actionable resources for your own cartooning.
And ho Nelly, if you want even more comics goodness in your life, check out the new drawing show that we're doing with our pal Kevin McShane over at wrongwayshow.com. That's wrongwayshow.com.
In each episode, we'll show you how to draw your favorite cartoon characters the wrong way.
Now, everybody, let's talk comics.
As we're coming to a pause here in this conversation, I know you wanted to remind people about this international accent project that you've got going on with our ComicLab listeners.
So this is just purely for fun. For everybody that remembers our big episode where we had folks calling in, we did have a fair number of folks from international destinations calling in, and it was just delightful to hear their accents and to talk about how they made us feel when we heard those accents, right? So I would love for our international pals to call into a free number. It's a Google number, and it's country code 1 or 01, depending on how you have to dial it. 609-379-3520. Yeah. Call in and let us know in the most delightful way possible. And you could be super honest how Brad and Dave's accents, American accents, but specifically our accents, if you want, make you feel. What do you think about them? Do they make you feel like, oh, this guy's a goof? Do they make you feel like, oh, this guy's serious? Do they make you feel like, oh, this guy's, I don't even know. I don't even know what an American accent sounds like to our international pals, and what is the resonance that it gives you. And it can be emotional, it can be concrete, it can be however you want to describe it. It's just kind of fun to hear what that makes you feel, right, Brad? Yeah, we want to hear. Let us have it. Let us know what we sound like to you, because we certainly had a lot of fun with all of your accents. Yeah. So give it to us both barrels. We can take it. And so that number again, or maybe I should say it this way, that number again is 1-609-379-3520. And I guess if you're a Canadian, sure, that you qualify. You can let us know. Yeah. Although that's a little bit cheating, I suppose, Canada, but you can go ahead and let us know. Oh, God, goodness knows there's a Canadian accent. We can certainly. There's a couple. I was talking to somebody from Nova Scotia yesterday, and I was like, boy, that is an accent. Yeah. But yeah, so give us a call. It's free. It should be free. It is free, right, Brad? It is free. Cut to it's a moneymaker for us, like, haha, suckers. No, it's a free call. Let us know how Brad Geiger's accent makes you feel. Yes. And as long as there's a break in the action, we promised in the last episode when we were talking about Reddit, I was talking about some stuff that I was doing that was addressing a problem. And that problem was that when I get Patreon backers, I don't know where they're coming from. And Patreon's analytics hasn't been particularly helpful. So I was talking about this new stuff I was doing on Reddit and how it was really kind of getting me into a position where I wanted to know better how my outreach is working. I wanted to improve my analytics. And I said I had just started something and I was going to come back and talk to you about it in the next episode. Here's the deal. I've gotten such in the weeds on that whole thing that to really talk about it, we're going to need to devote about 25 minutes just to talk about all the permutations, everything that went on. So we're going to do that in a Pro Tips episode coming up. So be on the lookout for that. We'll be talking about basically referral tags, how to know what links are working when you're driving people to different places in your funnel, whether it's to your website or to your Patreon, etc. We're not going to do it here on the show, but we are going to do it coming up on a Pro Tips episode, so keep your eye open for that. And just a reminder, for all 400 Pro Tips episodes, which also include our writers' rooms, our in-depth deep dives, like Brad just said, all of those are available when you join us over at patreon.com/ComicLab. So it's something you could do one of the trial bases and see if you like it. Jump in over at patreon.com/ComicLab. Brad and I are super proud of the community and the extras that you get when you join us.
And when you're looking for the Pro Tips, I just looked it up so I could tell you. The one you're looking for is Pro Tips episode 413. It'll be 413. That'll have this topic of referral tags on it. So, Dave, we've got another question from one of our $5 Patreon backers just aching for us to address.
Just aching for it, Brad. All right, so here is the question, Brad. And this is a really specific one for in-person events and all sorts of stuff for book sales. So, Brad and Dave, can you explain the etiquette and the best practices of inscribing a book? I usually sign my name, write the event and the year, doodle something from the book, and then put for blank being for Brad or that kind of thing, if requested by the buyer. But I get it up in my head about all this. Is it a good idea to include the event in the year? Does 4 mean something different, slightly different than 2? What page of the book do you sign? I typically sign the blank last page. How do you ask what they want to write? I usually awkwardly phrase it like, would you like this for anybody? Brad, this is a great question. I will just say, because this is all of us, cartoonists, you don't start drawing in your teens if you're really good at socializing. And that's what this reminds me of, because I am this person. I'm not throwing you under the bus. I also overthought it for years when I first started out, because I was like, it's not a natural thing. And so no one really trains you on, hey, what would you like me to write in this book that I'm writing in for you? Brad, how do you do it? What are your thoughts and considerations? What do you do?
There's so many things to think about. And as a matter of fact, like this person's saying, signing on the blank last page, I don't know that I would recommend that. like if anything, I want that illustration to be one of the first pages, not a blank last page. So let's talk about a few things to get up and running, because when I first started doing books and I was doing something like this, back when I was doing comic conventions, I would draw on the inside cover. There's a problem with that is my covers were usually glossy, and that inside cover was glossy. Or it didn't take the ink really well, and you'd get smudges and it would be a horrible piece of art. So what I started doing, and this is something that our question asker could consider to give himself a better position than that blank last page, is some people started doing a page that they would put as part of their book that was intentionally, it was called a sketch page. And it basically said on that page, there was a box that was a big empty box that took up the entire page. And at the bottom, it said something like convention sketch page or, commission page or whatever. And the idea was that you bought the book. And if you ever saw this person at a convention or appearance, you could bring your book and this person would do an illustration in the book for you. Right. I like that idea. I thought it was a pretty sweet, slick idea. Plus, now you're drawing on the paper, which, unless you're doing gloss pages, is a little bit better for taking the ink. But the first thing I'm going to throw out there as a potential for you is to include a sketch page in your book.
I super co-sign that. For years, I would sign, because I will agree with Brad, that the general convention is to sign it within the first, 3 pages of the book.
Yeah.
Either the inside cover, the first, usually title page, because it tends to have negative space, or the follow-up copyright page, which also tends to have negative space. Or, as Brad said, a lot of intentionally designed pages that leave a space blank. And I do that, I think, in the last 15 or so books of mine. I super agree with Brad. And I will say that, like Brad, I had a couple of books that had a glossy paper or a glossy cover.
Yeah.
And usually with gloss, that's a varnish coating or a plastic lamination. It's like it's either a clear plastic or a polymer layer. And so what that does is a lot of India inks are water-based. And so it literally is oil and water. They just don't stick to it. So you would go to close the book and the ink would stink to the facing page because that was not coated and the cover was, or you get where I'm going with this. Yeah. So you have to end up using a Sharpie, which is an oil-based paint, and then that super fades within a decade, and that's no good. Long story short, you got to find the right pen for the job, basically. And usually if it's a gloss paper or a gloss cover, that usually means there's either a clear plastic or a polymer somehow applied in the process. But all that being said, I tend to do the front of the book. I tend to do, if I'm standing with a person, unless it's a Comic-Con where I can tell they are in a rush, and I look at them and I say, oh, are you trying to get to a panel? And because you can see it in people's body language. And then they're like, yeah, I am. And then you just get a signature, right? And here's your book back, and hey, go with God, that kind of thing. But for anybody that I'm in person with, and I think Brad will agree with this, I really try to give them the experience of seeing me sketch.
Yeah. It's
a rarity to get to see a cartoonist that you like physically sketch in front of you. And so especially if someone's younger, a kid's age and younger, I definitely get down at their level and sketch for them because that's amazing for that age group. But I'll be honest, I've had 45-year-olds that are just as excited to get a sketch as a 5-year-old. So people love seeing how the sausage is made, and they love seeing the sketch. And it's a memory that's sealed into their brain and will actually continue the support for you in the years and decades ahead if they got to see you one time at a Comic-Con and you took the time to give them a sketch. So I try to give them a sketch. I tend to sign it, and I tend to put the year on it. If it's a notable event like Comic-Con, I'll put SDCC on it.
Yep.
Rarely, if it's not an event-based appearance, do I put where it was. Like I'm not like Des Moines, Iowa or Boston, Massachusetts. I don't tell, you know what I mean? Like, have you ever signed a location-based thing, Brad, that's not an event?
I always put the location in.
Do you really?
Yeah, because I think that's part of it too, where you say, oh yeah, I remember I saw Brad at Emerald City Comic Con that year. Right. And because you've got ECCC, right? Emerald City Comic Con.
Yeah, that's an event, though.
I saw him at, the Philadelphia ALA or something like that. Well, I don't know where I would be. Yeah, that's an event. Yeah, but where am I signing a book if I'm not in an event?
Well, that's what I was getting at, though. Like, if someone catches you on the street, the rare times where this has happened.
Yes. You know how many times I'm getting caught on the street.
Well, people asked you for signatures at the Rubin weekend in Boston last summer. Did you sign it Boston, or did you sign Rubin weekend, or did you
Rubens or Boston, something like that?
You did give a location, okay?
But now you are making a good point. I don't want to obscure that because this also encapsulates book plates that we do, like for Kickstarter rewards. And I won't put a place there because it's like I'm sitting here in my studio in Philadelphia. And by the way, if you, like me, all your pages are glossy because I like the way my glossy books look. So the book plates are another way that you can get around this, where you're basically buying, a sticker, a blank sticker, and you can find places online that offer book plates. You can buy them at any number of different places, and then do your illustration on the book plate, and then either you position it in the book, which is a risk in case you put a ripple in it or something.
Again? Oh my
it's
God.
So bad.
The whispering.
I didn't even know I was doing it that time. But like usually I just give them the book plate and let them put it in their book, because then they can choose where to put it. And if they screw it up, it's on them. I've wasted so many books because I didn't get that sticker on straight. I finally stopped doing it. Yep. But you can have the option of a book plate. Now, before while I'm thinking about it, I try not to put anybody's name on it unless I'm asked to. Like, I don't offer that. If they say it, I'll do it. But I don't put, like, when you're saying, oh, should I say to or from? I don't even offer that, because then you got to sit there and have them spell their name, because God knows if it's a Lisa and you put Lisa and she says, oh no, it's Leezah. and you just wasted another book because you got it in ink there, or you got to walk around the comic convention looking for a Lisa that might like a personalized book, that spells her name the common way. So I don't, unless they're asking for it, I don't put a name on. I put my name on there because I know how to spell that, but I'm not putting anybody else's name on that. What do you think?
I have been there, and I early on in my Comic-Con appearances, I got burned once or twice by like Michael, and you're like, all right, you start spelling Michael. No, it's Michael with a K. What? Why? You got to say that if that's the case. You can't. And so I do put names in there, but Brad, it is the part of my Comic-Con process where I slow down the most. I'm like, all right, I'm making it out to Lisa, and so just to confirm, Lisa. And then they always say, yep, Lisa. And then I always make a joke, okay, because some people have that silent Q in there, and I just want to make sure, I always make a joke about a silent Q or like, and then I usually I tell the story of like the Michael with the K, and people are like, yeah, people have weird names. But I really slow down, because if you mess up a name, you've wasted a whole book, and then you're looking the rest of your life for a Michael that doesn't have a K,
Right.
But I do sign it. I do like to put a name because I feel like it makes it all the more powerful and all the more. It's kind of like the Dale Carnegie thing. For those of you that know Dale Carnegie, the make friends and influence people guy. He said that no word in the human or in the English language is as sweet to someone's ear as their own name, right? And so if you learn someone's name, Brad Geiger, and you say their name, Brad, is what I'm trying to tell you, they perk up, they listen more, Brad, they focus on what you're saying to them, Mr. Geiger, and they focus in on the importance that you're giving them, Brad, as someone to be spoken to. And I think the same is true when you're signing for someone, Brad, is that when you get your name in a book and it says Brad, you feel a little bit more special.
Yes.
But I have made the joke, like, shall I sign this to eBay? When they don't want a name.
Right.
So I usually do name, date, location, and then I will just have in very big letters their name, Brad, exclamation point.
So you don't do to Brad or from Brad or for Brad. You just say Brad, exclamation point.
Right. The point is made.
That.
Brad,
I like
exclamation
that.
point. And then
that
usually
addresses this guy who doesn't know what preposition to use. They just don't use any preposition. Just say Brad.
I go big. Yeah. The signature, not the signature, the inscription of their name is as big, sometimes bigger than the character that I've drawn. Hooray, Brad. And then sometimes I'll have the character saying, hooray, woohoo, pal time, something that's affirming in a positive way. Usually, or if it's a very specific kind of a sketch, I will have the character or image making a joke about themselves, that kind of thing. So, and you can go through my Blue Sky if it's helpful to you and see all the sketches that I did for Comic-Con. If you just scroll back to July, there was a 5-day period where I shared a lot of sketches, and you can see what I tend to write and how I do it. But I also know, and I'm not going to throw them under a bus, a Reuben Award-winning cartoonist who still has a comic running for 30-plus years in newspapers, who, no matter who asks for the sketch, no matter what they ask for, they get a sketch of a very specific character doing a very specific pose. It's always the same character. It's always the same pose. And they're always saying hiya, and then it's your pal, blankety blank. And that's what you get. No matter what you ask for, that's what you get. And so I actually called them out on it, and they were like, it's too much of it's like Steve Jobs and his black t-shirts. It's one less thing to think about if they just draw the same thing for everybody.
Yep.
And I thought that was kind of funny, but I also thought it's kind of cheating the process. But go ahead.
Well, I like something about that, and that is like so. There's a commission, and then there's a sketch, right? Like if someone's commissioning me like a Kickstarter backer. Right. And I'm doing that. I'm going to do that at a certain level. And I'm going to really take their prompt and everything and really execute that. Now, if I'm doing a sketch at a comic convention, and that is going to be usually one of about 5 different headshots, right, that I've got right in my head. Yep. I can zoom those right out. If they want something special, we can discuss that. But if I'm just putting a sketch in the book, I'm going to do one of maybe 5 headshots.
Sure.
And
That's
again,
fair.
so I'm not sitting there thinking about what to do. It also helps that I can kind of get those so that they all look pretty good because I've done a bunch of them over and over. So I don't have to worry about getting the head shape just right and all that. In a horrible drawing situation where you're hunched over, it's bad lighting, you're trying to draw on a table that somebody keeps bumping into from your neighbor or something like that, you got to give yourself a little bit of an advantage there and so that you don't do something that just looks horrible. There is something about that I do kind of like, and that idea of keeping it simple.
Well, I must admit, and I will tell on myself, that I have about 10 characters or poses that I kind of use a lot.
Yeah.
So when in fact, Brad, let's role play. You be at the table and you're buying a book from Dave Kellett, because I think this might be helpful to give them the dialogue that I use. So
yeah.
Hey, how you doing? How's Comic-Con going for you?
Oh, man, it's so good. And I'm so glad I finally got a chance to meet you. I'm a huge Drive fan. I was wondering if I bought the latest Drive book, could I get an illustration in it that you do yourself of my favorite character, Nosh? I love him so damn much. Could I get a Nosh in the book?
Yes. And normally, if someone says that, it's no question, I'll do it.
Right.
But usually what I'll say is, can I put a sketch in there for you?
Oh, okay.
Or put a sketch in there for you for free. And people light up at that. They're like, oh my God, yeah. Or if they're looking at a book, I usually say, and if you'd like the book, I'm happy to put a sketch in there for you for free. Yeah. You'll be amazed at how many times the book gets flopped right in front of me and they want to get it right there. So I'll go, yes, I'm happy to put a sketch in there for you. And then usually I would say any particular character you would like or artist choice. And by using the phrase artist choice, it sort of implies that you'll get a better sketch if you're going to let the artist choose what they'll do. And honestly, 9 times out of 10, people get flustered by pronouncing a character's name that they've never spoken before. Like, is it Nosh or is it Nosh or is it, they've never said it out loud. And so I think that also buys me some leeway because they don't know quite how to pronounce certain names and they'll say, oh, artist choice. Then I get to draw whatever I want. And then I fall back on usually 10 or so, 15 maybe, sketch possibilities that I lean in on. Yeah. But that also guarantees they'll get a really good sketch because I know how to do that specific thing without penciling really quick, but also really professionally. Bing, bang, boom. And then as I'm signing it, as I'm finishing it up, when you have like 30 more lines to do, you're almost done. You kind of half look up and you be like, and who shall I make this out to? Or is this a gift for somebody or is this one for you? And they'll say, oh, if you could make it out to Michael. And I'll say, Michael, happy to do it. Can I trouble you to spell it out for me? Just because some names have unique spellings. I'll just leave it at that. And they'll say, oh, yeah, sure, M-I-C. Or I'll say, flip your badge around and I'll look at their badge.
Even better.
Even better, yeah. And I'll do the big name lettering for you, and then I'll sign it. I always sign it last because signing it lets people know that we're finishing up the process. You know what I mean? Something about I've learned to do the signature last. I'll sign it last. I'll date it. I'll write STCC, and I'll flip it around to them. I'll say, hold it open for about 30 seconds. Just let the ink dry, because even though I have non-gloss paper, it's worthwhile to just let the ink dry. And then I'll say, I'll usually stand up at that point to do a handshake because that indicates that we're done. You know what I mean? Standing up is sort of like the Midwest equivalent of slapping the knee and going, well, it's been, what do you guys say in the Midwest?
Well, in the Midwest, you slap your knee and you go, well, I suppose.
Yeah, well, I suppose, every culture has that. Yeah. Although, my God, my Cuban relatives, they go, all right, it's time to get going, and everybody stands up to kiss each other goodbye, and then it's another half an hour of talking. There's a reason why we call it the Irish goodbye, because we slip out the back door. We're like, I gotta go. But Cubans, God, I love them. They are like, well, it's time to go. And then it's another half an hour to 45 minutes of hugging and kissing and saying goodbye. I'm like, I thought we were out the door. What happened? Anyway, so at Comic-Con, I always stand up because I usually sit to let people see me sketching.
Yeah.
I stand up, I offer the handshake of friendship, and I always say, I literally say, can I offer you a handshake of friendship? Everybody takes it. Post-COVID, 90% of people take it. And then I do the sort of last final push-off of the handshake in the Brad Geiger style, which sort of 10% energy pushes them backwards a little bit. Not a lot. Yeah, just a tiny tip, but just let you know, that's it, we're done. And then that's concluded the process. But that's what I do. What does Brad Geiger do? Talking
same thing. even with the standing up point, because that's also an indication that we're done.
Yeah.
And there's only one thing that I add that you don't. And that's just a little bit of a shift in my voice that also indicates that we've had a very good time, but it's time that this has come to an end. And I'll do it for you if you want to hear it.
Sure. Yeah.
Just listen to what I do with my voice here. You've been listening to Comic Lab, the show about making comics and making a living from comics.
For your consideration in all categories, Brad Geiger, 2025 Oscars. Your hosts have been my friend Brad Geiger, the editor of webcomics.com, the creator of Evil Inc. at evilcomic.com, and the co-host of the new drawing show at wrongwayshow.com.
And my good friend Dave Kellett, the co-director of the comics documentary Stripped and the cartoonist of Sheldon at sheldoncomics.com and the monochromatic and mono marvelous Drive at drivecomic.com. You can use that in your promotional.
I will be, wink. I will be using that, wink.
I like Mono Marvelous. And another wonderful, handsome co-host of the drawing show, along with the wonderful Kevin McShane at the wonderful wrongwayshow.com.
Somebody got a glitch there with the word wonderful. The Comic Lab theme song is used with permission by Andy Creighton over at theworldrecord.net, and this episode and every episode is edited by the ever wonderful, ever whimsical Matt Woodard of Woodsong Productions over at www.woodsong.media.
Oh, he's so wonderful. If you love Comic Lab, you can rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts, and you may hear your review featured on a future episode. And don't forget to give us a 5-star review on Spotify, where we are burning up the podcast charts.
And Comic Lab is made possible by your support at patreon.com/comiclab. So I'll go ahead and say that twice as though Brad is initiating at home. Patreon.com/the kids are out of the house tonight. If you know what I mean. You know, sometimes when marathon runners are desperate for that little cup of water?
Yeah.
That's what listeners are for Brad Geiger. Yeah. They're just desperate for a little Brad Geiger.
They just splash that water in their face and they keep going.
Yeah. Everybody wants a splash of Brad Geiger.
Everyone wants a splash of Brad.
Much like cologne, I just put a little dab of Brad Geiger on either cheek, and start my day.
A little bit of that Drakkar, you're all set for the day.
Oh, my God. I forgot that you wear Drakkar Noir. My God. It's literally like you and like Michael J. Fox's character on whatchamacallit, that sitcom.
Alex P.
Keaton are the only two people I know that wear Drakkar.
Do you know when I went to college, I actually got 5 different sports jackets because I assumed that's how you went to college because of Alex P. Keaton. I had my uncle who was a CPA, hand me down sports jackets because I was planning to go to class in a suit jacket every day
and just get beat up every day.
I learned real quick that you didn't need to wear a sports jacket to class. God.